Edit bar tool is a handy feature that allows you to adjust or remove individual rebars within a rebar set. This helps you fine-tune your model for greater accuracy and a more realistic reinforcement layout. To showcase the tool, I will be standing in a 2D view showing a section of a foundation and a wall. I would like to move these two rebars inside the U-shaped rebar. To do this, select the rebar set I want to make the adjustment for and press the Edit bar tool in the ribbon, and I will enter the Edit bar mode where I can make the necessary adjustments. I go ahead and select the single rebar I want to edit. I can move it either by typing in a numerical value that relates to the nearby single rebar in the set, or by just dragging it into where I want it to be. We'll also drag the other rebar into the U-shaped rebar. I will make the same adjustment for the top layer rebar set. Just select the set, click Edit Bars, and drag it to where I want it. If I do regret some of the changes, I can reset all, and all the rebars that have been edited will go back to their original places. This tool can also be applied in the 3D view, where I will remove one of the rebars due to a recess in the wall. Once again, select the rebar set, enter Edit Rebar mode, and choose the individual rebar you want to modify. You'll see a Remove option appear in the ribbon. Click it, and that specific rebar will be removed from the set. Right next to it, you'll find the Show Removed button. When you click this, all the rebars that have been previously removed from this particular set will be highlighted and visible, allowing you to review and restore them if needed. Rebar crank, a new feature introduced in Revit 2026. The rebar crank tool allows you to add a crank or bend to your rebars, perfect for resolving congestion and preventing clashes in tight reinforcement layouts. For example, imagine a tall concrete column where the rebars overlap each other, like the one we're looking at here. In this model, several bars are positioned directly on top of each other, which, of course, can't happen in reality. What we want is for each rebar to sit close to the stirrups, ideally with one bar in each corner of the column. To achieve that, we'll need to add a crank to shift the bars slightly and create the necessary clearance. To add a crank to a rebar, start by selecting the rebar and identifying which end is the start of the bar. You can check this by hovering over the small arrows that appear in the view. Next, open the Properties menu and locate the Start of Bar parameter. It's currently set to none. Change this value to crank, and the crank will be applied to that end of the rebar. Beneath, there are two new parameters, crank at start, currently set to crank 1, which is a family created by Revit, and rotation at start. Fortunately for us, the default crank 1 provided by Revit fits perfectly for the column we're working on. However, if it didn't, we could edit the existing crank 1 family or create a new crank type with the dimensions we need. Let's open the crank 1 family to see how it works. You can find it in the project browser. Right-click the family and press Type Properties. When you open it, you'll see the parameters that define how the crank behaves, including the crank angle, offset distance, and length ratios. These parameters control how far the bar shifts and at what angle it bends. Rebar cranks use a matrix relationship between the crank properties and the rebar size, meaning the crank automatically adjusts its geometry to match different bar diameters. Let's test it out by adjusting some of the parameters, starting with the crank slope. Set the slope to 20 and press Apply. As expected, the slope of the crank increases, making the bend steeper. The crank slope parameter determines the steepness of the bent section. It controls the relationship between the vertical height and the horizontal length of the crank. In other words, how sharply the rebar transitions from one level to another. Next is the offset multiplier parameter. This value defines the length of the straight section by setting an offset value. In simple terms, the offset multiplier controls how long the straight portion of the crank remains before or after the bend. I set the offset to 5, and the distance between the straight rebar and the crank increased. I will return the value to 2.2. since it did fit rather nicely. The final parameter is the length multiplier. This value works by multiplying the multiplier by the bar diameter, which defines the length of the rebar after the inserted crank. In other words, it controls where the bar crank is positioned along the whole length of the rebar. And by adjusting the length multiplier, you can precisely determine where the crank starts within the total rebar length, giving you full control over the placement and geometry of the crank position. To easily rotate the crank, press the space bar to cycle through the available rotation options. If none of these preset rotations gives the desired result, you can make a more precise adjustment by opening the Properties menu, finding the rotation at start parameter, and entering an exact numerical value for the rotation angle. Sometimes you may want to customize the crank for just one specific rebar set instead of changing the entire family. To do this, enable the Override Crank Length option in the Properties panel. Once it's turned on, the numerical values next to the selected rebar set, which represent the crank parameters that define its appearance, become editable. This allows you to fine-tune the crank length and shape locally without affecting other rebar sets in your project. The rebar crank is a great new tool, and especially handy for situations like this column where you can crank the rebars to fit neatly into each other and avoid clashes. It's also useful in other cases, such as slabs with immersion areas in the concrete or beams with over. Let's put the Propagate tool into action in a 3D view. We'll begin with these foundations. One already contains rebar, and we'll use Propagate to copy and adapt that reinforcement to the remaining ones. I'll start by selecting the rebars in the foundation. Once selected, the Modified Structural Rebar tab appears, giving access to the Propagate Rebar tool. I'll click it, and now I'm presented with two options. For this example, I'll choose Align by Host. The tooltip tells me to select a destination host, so I click on a foundation that doesn't yet contain any rebar. Instantly, the selected foundation receives all the rebars from the source foundation. I continue this process for the remaining foundations. The first 4 foundations share the same dimensions, so the rebars transfer perfectly. The last 2, however, are smaller, but because I'm using the Propagate tool and not the straight up copying tool, the rebars that have the proper constraint will adapt to the new size. Next, let's repeat the process for the columns. These 4 columns vary in size but share the same shape, so propagation works smoothly. Use the Align by Host and click the column. I want to have the same rebars layout as the host. However, when attempting to propagate to the round column, it fails. The geometry differs and the constraints can't be matched. I press the green check mark and the rebars are now created. I'll delete the rebars in the round column since the Propagate tool couldn't adapt them properly. For this column, I'll need to place the rebars manually using one of the rebar placement tools instead. Finally, I'll perform one more Align by Host propagation on the beam rebars. The 2 beams are different in size but identical in shape, so once again, the Propagate tool adapts the rebars perfectly to the new dimensions. So far, the Align by Host option has worked well in 3D. Begin by selecting all the rebars surrounding the rectangular opening, then click the Propagate Rebar tool. This time, choose Align by Face. The tooltip now tells me to select a source face, meaning you should pick a face near the rebars you want to propagate. Once that's done, the tooltip updates and asks you to select a destination face. I move the cursor over to the other rectangular opening, which has the same dimensions, and select one of its faces. However, you'll notice that some rebars are placed incorrectly, and when attempting the same operation on a larger opening, the rebar placement was all over the place, distorted. This happens because the rebars were not properly constrained in the first place. Now, let's do it correctly. I'll select a set of rebars that do have proper constraints and repeat the same steps. Choose Align by Face. Select the source face near the rebars. Select the destination face on the other opening. This time, the rebars are placed perfectly. When I try it on the larger opening, the rebars adapt seamlessly to the new geometry, exactly as intended when using the Propagate tool with correctly constrained rebars. I will now perform exactly the same task, only now I will do it in 3D view. We'll select a set of rebars that do have proper constraints, then repeat the same steps. Choose Align by Face. Select the source face near the rebars. Select the destination face on the other opening. And yes, the result is the same as when I did it in 2D plan view. So, what exactly defines a proper constraint? Let's examine the rebar and its constraints. Start by selecting the U-shaped rebar and clicking Edit Constraints. This switches us into constraint editing mode, where we will see how the rebar is tied to its surroundings. Notice that every constraint on this U-bar is linked directly to the edges of the opening. Now, let's check the longitudinal rebars. The same principle applies here. Each of the three key constraints that define their shape is connected to the edges around the opening. This is what makes them ideal for the Propagate tool. The software can recognize and reproduce those relationships on a new host or within the host, automatically adapting the bars to different sizes by keeping the design